What is our origin story? What is the myth that started this place? I think you're quite familiar with the Garden of Eden story. But I'm not sure if you've ever heard it from Eve's perspective. My very much cherished friend and fellow writer and student, Deborah Lashever, has written an astonishing and great book, What Sleeps in the Seeds of Eden. So before she reads, I'd like you to all imagine an acquisitions editor in New York reading her query letter and being like, we have to publish this book. Do you want to say anything about the nouns, or should I?
You can, go for it.
So this is an era. I could do the whole setup, yeah?
All right, yeah.
Before, there were words for a lot of things. So Deborah has created a tremendous new way of speaking that she imagines people at the cusp of consciousness, at the dawn of consciousness, used. So this is a retelling of the Garden of Eden story, which you may be familiar with. A couple of differences. They were not the only people on Earth. There were many other humans in this telling. And there's in this world a great all-pervading spirit. But that's different from this guy, this strong guy who decided to call himself Lord. So when you hear Lord in this story, it's some guy who decided that that's what everyone should call him. And I think that's enough of a setup.
Yeah,
Please welcome Deborah Lashever.
Is this one on? Yes, good, okay. Let's do this one. Sorry for the camera. Okay. Eve's eyes did not notice the silent flicker-tongued creature until it had slithered some distance past her, flavored with dust and visions and lands far away. The rich colors of its undulations captured her eyes as it glinted in the dimness it kept to, solemnly set on its path. She saw as it slid itself onto the stems of a green growing one she did not know, with large blossoms that wafted a thick, sweetened scent. The long length of the smooth creature's body caressed the green growing one, coiling through twigs and smooth leaves to where a few thorny fruits grew. Some fruits were still green, and some the color of dirt, but all were cloaked in the sharp of the spikes that clearly guarded what was inside. Smelling the small sense of fear that crept from her skin, her senses warned her that this growing one had great power. Still, she could not stop her curious thoughts from reaching themselves out to touch a mild-looking leaf. Abruptly, she felt something unseen and seething strike out at her, making her draw herself back. But there was not even a pause for the slender, resolute one as it wound and unwound itself around the sparse leaves, urging her closer, swirling up even further, licking the green growing one's secret-laden scents from the air. Suddenly, it stopped, staring intently at a single crisped, spine-covered orb. The wise creature turned, meaningfully glittering its strange lidless eyes into hers. It clearly meant her to know this fruit. She took a breath. Trusting but tentative, she reached out. When her fingers touched the spiky skin of the fruit, it cracked itself open, and tiny dark kernels spilled themselves onto her hand. Still wary, her thoughts urged her to tuck the tiny seeds in a pouch she kept tied to her neck. A token of wisdom from the growing ones, her thoughts told her, while cautioning that this was a far different kind of learning than any she knew. At that moment, a flawless pale flower fell soundlessly to her feet, its fragrance so enthralling that she took it up and twirled it into the long, coarse spirals of her dark hair. Then she sat herself close to the growing one, feeling she was more ready for its strength, letting her heart reach warily into its formidable power to gain some sense of the ways of its wisdom. Without warning, her body went cold, her thoughts spun wildly about. She could hear vicious snarls of some sort of massive thing in the distance. Smelling its stink, she felt it stalking ever closer, ready to catch her up in its unrestrained rage. Her thoughts began to scream that she could be overpowered by these visceral visions. Ripping herself from the fierce growling thing, she leapt to her feet and backed away. This green one was more potent and promised much power, but tasted of ravenous menace. She tore from her hair the tapering bloom so its cloying scent would not beckon her still. She turned and ran, her legs fast to the far places, trying to free herself from the irresistible pull of the strange growing thing. Never before had she felt this intimate type of terror. When her heart stopped pounding itself in her chest, she found that she smelled the same furious scent from this green one as she did from Lord. Her thoughts insisted that they must be entwined. She wondered why Lord would have this fearful thing in his Eden, but then her understanding began to unfurl. Lord himself must have eaten the seeds of this thorny fruit with its potent intentions. This fruit was somehow the cause of Lord's strict, strange commands and cruel punishments. It must be the same fruit that Lord forbade Adam to touch. Now her thoughts became solid and certain as they uncovered Lord's reasons. Needing to keep the power of the daunting growing one for himself, he sank a ragged claw of fear into Adam's heart and threatened that if he dared disobey, he would meet the void in the most grisly of ways. But she had touched the fruit, and she had not perished. And now it had given her its seeds.